and say, are you in favor of the death penalty? Are you against the death penalty? And that's a good class discussion. But it's really different when you meet two people who have been so intimately involved. One, a lawyer fighting for his client, Brian Stolarz, and his client who is with us today, who we'll also hear from in a little bit. The other thing that I think is important about today professionally is this. We're all working hard to get you ready to get a job. And some of you may even be lawyers. And it's easy to say, yay, I have my job and I'm working for a really great company or law firm. But then the challenge becomes, how do you make the work you do have meaning to you personally? So in the case of Brian, he's working for a prestigious Washington law firm, and his law firm says, yay, go ahead and work on this death penalty case for 6 months. But it takes 8 years. And his law firm's not so happy, probably after about year 1. They don't pay him any bonuses, his salary drops. But he sticks with the case. And you may find professionally that you have to make a decision about the work that you are paid and hired to do and what you find personally meaningful. So I don't want to take up any more time. Brian Stolarz.
Thank you all. Thank you all for inviting me to be here. Professor Leland, I'm honored to be with you. You are an amazing person. And I'm so grateful for you to have brought me in front of these folks. I want to be you. I want to be a professor. So tell me how I did after this, guys. Let me know if I'm good up to the task. Thank you to Texas Defender Service and Catherine Case. Without them, none of this would be possible. If this case makes you mad, makes you want to advocate for change, which it will, reach out to them at texasdefender.org. Also reach out to the Innocence Clinic right here at the UH Law Center. Thank you to those from the UH Law Center who are here. Keep doing your good work every day. There are people who need it. Thank you to my partners at LeClaire Ryan in Houston. I understand that maybe some of their clients are here, so I thank you for coming. Most of all, to the students in the room. Don't lose the passion that you have right now. We give this speech to law students and to college students, and they're my favorite people to talk to. Talking to lawyers, they're already sort of beyond hope. You guys still have the fire and the passion to do this work. Don't change. To Pat Hartwell, who's here in the second row, an abolitionist of the highest order. She lives and breathes the death penalty every single day, and her sole goal is to get rid of the death penalty. I'm honored to be here with you, Pat. You're amazing. And as I end every speech, thank you, Dwayne. I love you like a brother. Will always love you like a brother. And you'll never be able to get rid of me no matter what. Thank you for letting me tell your story. Okay, I'm going to start you off with something that happened to me 20 years ago. I was a third-year law student, and you're allowed to take criminal cases where you can actually represent the person, which is really cool. And my first client was accused of stealing a bike. We go to court, I cross-examine the police officer, really inspired defense, but he gets found guilty. I go downstairs in the lockup and I say, hey man, I'm sorry, I worked really hard for you. I'm really, really sorry you're in jail. He said, hey, don't worry about it. I stole the bike. But what he said next was what motivated me. He said, hey, thank you for standing up for me. No one's ever done that before. And so guys, that feeling was like a rocket right to the heart of me that never left. And that's what I chase when I go to work every day, whether I'm working on a civil case or a criminal case or whatever. That's the feeling that I chase, standing up for someone. Let me tell you a story that happened last year, almost a year to the day. Dwayne and I were in Austin to go give a speech at UT. And I had a surprise for him. We were going to go get matching scales of justice tattoos. Not kidding. He'll show you his because it's on his arm, and he's like buff and strong. I'm just a weak guy. Mine's on my shoulder. I probably won't take my shirt off for you, but I think I'm going to slide in here. That's not the point. The point is, on the way to the tattoos, he's checking his phone. He shows me something on his phone, and we get into a car accident. He'd only been out of jail for 4 months. And the car got shaken, I got shaken. And he turns to me and he says, you saved my life, and you're going to kill me in a car accident? But we literally had to duct tape the bumper back onto the car and drive from Austin to Houston, where we had a big gala like we're having on Friday. So, guys, I was a public defender in Brooklyn for a couple years, and I represented thousands of people. The guilty, the innocent, the mentally ill, the misunderstood, basically everywhere in between. And when we had to pay our law school loans back and wanted to have a suburban life, we moved to D.C. I was a public defender in Brooklyn. Moved to D.C. to have a suburban life, worked for a large law firm. I was dying to get back into helping folks, to standing up for people. And I got a call one day and said, "Hey, you're a public defender, right?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "You want to work on a death penalty case?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Good, you're going to Texas tomorrow." So I flew to Texas and I met Dwayne. Now, the moment I met him, I knew this man was innocent. Like a shot right to my heart. Like when you meet your spouse for the first time, or you hold your child for the first time. A truth that's like well deep within inside you. And I got back out to the parking lot and I threw up right next to the rental car. Because the gravity set on me instantly. This wasn't someone stealing a bike. This wasn't Brooklyn. This was the death penalty in Texas. And so on the way home that day, I stopped at the airport and got some of that disgusting Chinese food that looks good. When you eat it, you feel sick. You know what I'm talking about? And I got a fortune. And it's right here. And it says, "You love challenge." And I looked at it and I said, "Really? This is the challenge you're going to give me?" And so yesterday, I've been back in Houston for a while. I have sort of a complicated relationship with Houston. Not really fond of it at the end of the day. Sorry, I'm on tape. Am I on tape? No. Anyway, I was not happy with what they had done to my client for all those years. I'm hopeful meetings like this make me feel better about Houston. So yesterday I come back and I go to that same place to get Chinese food thinking, you know what? I'm going to get another fortune today that'll make it like the Hollywood script at the end, right? Like the fortune from yesterday would tell me that I'd done well or done the job or this challenge was succeeded. And I opened up the fortune cookie and you know what it said? "Pandas are cute." Which, can't deny that, but it was not as inspirational as "You love challenge." All right, so here's the case of my life and Dwayne's life. He was arrested in April 2003 and convicted and sentenced to death in October 2005 for a crime he didn't commit. For those of you who don't know about the crime, it was a robbery at a check cashing place. Supposed to be an inside job. One of the persons who worked there said there was going to be $300,000 at this place. A legendary score. The woman who was supposed to work there to open the door for them got cold feet, decided not to come. The store clerk, Alfredia Jones, and Officer Charles Clark died. Absolutely terrible crime. I say prayers for their families all the time. Officer Clark is a decorated veteran, about to retire. Alfredia Jones had just had a baby. That absolutely senseless crime did not have to happen. 3 men, that's where it occurred. Just a random strip mall, South Houston. Check cashing store, furniture store, cell phone store. 3 men that did it. Truck driver saw 3 men coming out. 2 of the 3 we know. Elijah Jobert, on your left, convicted of shooting Alfredia Jones, is on death row now. Deshaun Glaspie, over there, pled to aggravated robbery, received a sentence of 30 years to testify against Jobert and Dwayne. Guys, I don't know why my phone was buzzing, I'm sorry. That's really not cool. I have 3 kids, so my daughter texts me all the time. I'm going to tell her, give me a break for now. Okay, sorry. The trial is 3 days. I call it fast food death penalty. I've tried civil cases where the amount of controversy is $100,000, it takes a month. I've tried cases where a guy goes to jail for a year and it takes 3 or 4 weeks. In Texas, the death penalty case took 3 days. Dwayne was very frustrated with the defense. His court-appointed lawyer did not want to listen to him. He would tell you now, like he told me then, he was at his girlfriend's apartment the morning of the murders, made a phone call to where she worked. Very straightforward alibi. But the defense came up with a mere presence defense, saying that Dwayne he was over there at that store. He didn't do anything wrong. Nobody believes that. He did not authorize that defense. It was very ineffective. And they didn't put on a single witness, guys. Not a single piece of evidence in their defense. They sat up, they said the defense rests, they sat back down. Guilt was foretold from the moment everybody walked in that room. And he was extremely frustrated. During the sentencing, he stood up or raised his hand and he said, "These people are trying to take my life away for something I didn't do. I didn't do this crime, man." He's trying to let these people take my life away for something I didn't do. Didn't matter. Jury sentenced him to death. By the time I got the case, he was already there. Am I too loud in there? Too bad. Okay. So, by the time I got to see him, he was already at the Polunsky unit, 60 miles north of here. That's where they hold him before Texas executes him. They ship him over to Huntsville to do that. It's a dreary prison on a country road. I hate it. The only good thing about it is there's a Taco Bell right on the corner before we make the turn, and I love Taco Bell. And so I would get tacos every time before going. That made me feel good, but that's the only thing that made me feel good. I'd pull up to the gate, and as you can tell, I'm a fast-talking, wisecracking guy from New Jersey, and I try to break people. I try to get them to smile. And this place was death. There was no smiling anywhere. I'd pull up to the gate, and a sheriff would come out, inspect my car, look in my pockets, look everywhere to see if I had any contraband. First time, he opened the hood, and I said, "Hey, would you mind checking the oil?" He didn't laugh. The next time, I brought him some tacos. He looked at my license, he said, "I don't want your Yankee tacos," and he threw them back at me. The next time, as I was leaving, he said, "Let me check your car." I said, "No." He said, "Open your car, your trunk." I said, "No, I will not." He said, "Open your car." I said, "I will not." And he was about to call for backup. He said, "Why?" I said, "Well, my client's in the trunk, I'm breaking him out." And that's when he finally smiled. He said, "Okay, Yankee, you got me." But he said, "I still got to check your trunk." And he did. And Dwayne was not in the trunk. My 6-year-old boy said to me, "Daddy, why didn't you just go get him out of jail? Just walk him out of jail." I said, "It's not that easy. I wish it were." So, I've been there, guys, on execution days. And I tell you what, it's terrible to watch a man about to be condemned. Family, friends, lawyers, priests coming in. And we see this. We see what's going on. And everybody knows. And I tell them, I promise you, that will never, ever happen to you. But guys, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make good on that promise. I felt sick. That's a cell. 23 hours a day in that cell during the week, 24 hours a day on the weekend. He could touch it side to side with his hands. 13 steps front to back. Tiny little window at the top. You got to get your tippy toes to look out. Little panhole in the front where they chuck food in at 3 in the morning. They come shine your light every hour to see if you're alive. Absolutely wretched place. It breaks people. There's a man who gouged his eye out, made it, came back to death row, gouged his other eye out, made it, and he's still there now. People hung themselves. It broke people. People hooting and hollering all night long. It didn't break him. He has a sense of peace and grace that I will never have. I encourage you just to be with him. He will bring it. It absorbs onto you. I'm still not very peaceful, but he still brings me peace and grace. One of the truly only good things about visiting him was you could bring $20 in quarters to buy vending machine food. And every time I'd go see him, it was like a little mini Thanksgiving. What do you want? What do you want to eat? Not the crap they feed you. What do you want? So I spent all $20. Chicken nuggets, cheeseburgers, Zapp's Cajun Crawtators. Did I get that right? Being Houston's here. We don't have those in New Jersey. Key lime pie. That was great when they had key lime pie. Hawaiian punch, Sprite, Hershey bars. And I spent all 20, and there's no time limit for lawyer visits, so I say, "Hey man, take your time. Let's just be." And guys, I already knew the defense. So I didn't really need to talk to him much about the case. But what I developed was who he was. And we became brothers. It evolved from lawyer-client to true brotherhood. Talk about his family, about his life. And it was my goal to get him out of there. And guys, I put this slide up there for a reason. Because that's where he was going. It's meant to shock you, and I hope it does. And I look at that picture and I get the chills. And I can't believe how close it was to actually happening. I love this picture. As you can see, everything's behind glass. I went there so many times. A lot of times, I didn't know what to say. I just wanted to go see him. Just tell him there was someone on the outside who cared about him. someone who loved him, someone who was not going to stop and fight for him. So you figure, it's a death penalty case, right? It's got to be a lot of evidence. Well, guys, never any forensics, no DNA, no gunshot residue, no CSI stuff like you see on TV. This case boiled down to very few pieces of very unreliable evidence. First, a witness identification from that sewer grate. How do I know? I took that picture. I went on investigations all over the place. And I said to the witness, you could see him from where you were back to that dot all the way back there? She said, no. I said, well, why did you say that you did? She said, I was pressured. And I began to realize a theme here of pressure by the district attorney's office and Houston Police Department. Guys, huge high-profile case, and they were pressing the levers that they could. Going to these housing projects, knowing these folks are on the fringes, saying, you know what, we're going to send CPS here to investigate you. You know what, we're going to take your benefits away. You know what, take your housing voucher away. Say what we want to say. These are their words, not mine. Then there was this. And later in a few minutes, you're going to want to be really angry about this evidence. And I say evidence in air quotes. My kids use air quotes all the time. It annoys me, but air quotes actually works in this case where Dwayne didn't have a cell phone. Now everybody has a cell phone. I can pick up your phone right there and find out where you went to lunch yesterday. Probably got a salad from Panera, right? No? Okay. He didn't have a phone. This is 2005 when the trial was going on. So that's all in its infancy, right? No one knows where anybody is. The co-defendant, Glaspie, says, no, Dwayne used my phone. And so they took Glaspie's cell phone records, and they used the triangulation maps to find out where those calls originated from, and made these really fancy maps. In a non-science case, this was science. This is what this case was based on. We talked to jurors. They said this is what they really relied on here. That Glaspie testified that Dwayne used his phone, and they said, okay, look, then we're going to put Alfred Brown, making a call to his brother. Erica Dockery's girlfriend, making a call to Alfred. And they marked him right where he was. Well, clearly that's where he was. And that's junk science, guys. So, between the woman on the sewer grate who said that she saw that those junk cell tower maps, the most critical witness was Erica Dockery, his ex-girlfriend. She testified in the grand jury that he was home when she left for work at 8:30, and she called there later, and her cousin says, yeah, he's home, just went upstairs and went to sleep. And that Dwayne called from her home to her workplace around 10 in the morning. If he made that call, he could not have been at the murder scene. And she testified this way. This is a statement to the police that she gave that statement that I just said. And then she testifies in the grand jury. Those of you who don't know what the grand jury is, for non-lawyers, it's an investigative body, not open to the public, where the prosecutor stands, someone kind of like what I'm doing, tells the public or tells the members of the grand jury what their evidence is. The grand jury will say, yes, you have enough to go forward with the charge, or no, you don't. You probably heard it in connection with Ferguson, Baltimore, New York. Grand jury is an investigative body, very important. She testifies in the grand jury. The foreperson, you'll find out why this is important in a few minutes. Foreperson of the grand jury says, hey, Dan, which is the first name of the prosecutor. No foreperson of the grand jury should know the first name of the prosecutor. You'll find out why in a second. What are the punishments for perjury and aggravated perjury? Trying to threaten her, trying to badger her, trying to cajole her. It's up to 10 years in prison, the prosecutor says. And the foreperson, I do this dramatically, in prison? Trying to scare her. Foreperson says, if the evidence shows you're perjuring yourself, you know the kids are going to be taken by Child Protective Services, go to the penitentiary, you won't see your kids for a long time. They're badgering her, they're threatening her. This is the grand jury transcripts, guys. She holds firm. Grand jurors, think about your kids, darling. Think about your kids. He wasn't there at home, was he? He wasn't. But guys, she holds firm. Yes, he was there. Prosecutor didn't like those answers. Decided to charge her with perjury. He asked for a very high bail, $15,000, which might have been just $1 billion to her. She cooled out in jail for 4 months. Her sister was watching her kids, no income. She just simply couldn't take it anymore. I talked to her later on in the investigation. She said at some point I'd make a decision between my children and Dwayne, and I understood it. So after 4 months, she's like, get me out of here, I'll say whatever you want. So her trial testimony was now that Dwayne was not home when she left, and that he did not make that call from her home, made it from somewhere else. And guys, that is the evidence that convicted Dwayne Brown in this county. You're not going to believe this. That foreperson who said, hey, Dan, was an active duty police officer. So guys, in a police officer shooting case, the grand jurors, who's supposed to be an impartial body to decide if there's enough evidence, was a sitting active duty police officer. Your state was the last state to have what's called pick-a-pal grand jury system, in which the judge in the case appoints a commissioner, usually your buddy, who then gets friends to go to the grand jury. It'd be like if you and I decided to go to the movies and said, nah, let's go to the grand jury instead. And no offense to the white people, but it's mostly white people, older, sitting in judgment of minorities. Not a fair system. But because of this case, because of the great reporting by Lisa Falkenberg, who won the Chronicle's first Pulitzer because of this case, I think that's kind of cool they won a Pulitzer. I'm still waiting for mine. At least a copy of one or a picture of one. I never got one. I was her source. Okay, I'm on video again. Yes, I was her source. It's in the book now. It's all good. I don't care anymore. I speak the truth. Because of what Lisa did, because of this case, the judge who appointed the grand jury said it was terrible. It's terrible. The DA, Devin Anderson, said it was shocking. And pick-a-pal was abolished, guys. Abolished. 2 months after Dwayne got out. And so now, grand jurors in Texas are selected just the way they are in every other state of the union, which is those annoying letters you get in the mail to say, come to court. And I like to say that the best day of my life was when I met my wife. Second, third, and fourth are my kids. Fifth is when the 1986 Mets won the World Series. Sixth is when Dwayne got out. Fine, I'll flip it. Dwayne's more important than the Mets. But right after the Mets is this day. Because Texas is now more fair to defendants. Future Dwaynes are not going to get jammed up by a biased grand jury system. In fact, in the book it says there was one grand juror who went to like 10 different grand juries. She was the favorite foreperson. She went on police ride-alongs. She went on helicopter ride-alongs. She went to fundraisers for DAs and cops. And she was the foreperson of a grand jury. How stacked is that, right? It's not fair. But this is now abolished. And so that makes me incredibly happy that not only did Dwayne get out, which is my only goal in this case, but now Texas is more fair. All right, so Dwayne's lawyer was ineffective. As I said, didn't put on a single piece of evidence. For the future lawyers in this room, I know there's some. The lawyer who represented Glaspie, the cooperator, worked in the same law firm as the lawyer who represented Dwayne. For those of you who don't know, that's not good. It's against the ethical rules. In my law firm, I can't represent people on the same side of a case. In fact, we have lawyers who analyze that all the time. I went to go to their office. You can see it's the same office space. And they had a desk, not unlike that desk right there, where her files were there, his files were over there. And he said to me, Dwayne should have taken the offer. I told my partner Dwayne should have taken the offer. I said, where the hell am I? Where partners can talk about this. And guys, the offer was 40 years. In a police officer shooting case, high profile as can be, 40 years was a sign that their case was weak. And in Texas, you only do about 20, so he would have been out in 20. So they were depending on him to sign that plea deal, and they didn't do a good defense. They were begging him, take the deal, take the deal, take the deal. Texas will kill you if you don't take this deal. His lawyer said, I would take it and do the time if I were you. To which Dwayne said,
you take it. You're gonna have
he would not take the deal and sign for something that he didn't do. Another aspect of this is troubling. Dwayne has some intellectual disabilities. He's got an IQ of 69. He's smarter than me in more things than I'm smarter than him on. I'll tell you that right now. Yet, in order to be executed in this country, you have to have an IQ of 70. The state doctor, hired by the state, inflated his IQ by 3 points because they said he was depressed at the time of testing. Now, I'm not smart enough to be a doctor, barely smart enough to be a lawyer, but I know that you can't just give somebody 3 extra points in their IQ because they were stressed out at the time of testing. The benefit to working at a large law firm at the time, we hired many psychiatrists, psychologists, and they all to a person said that that was improper, that they could not inflate his IQ by 3 points. And that'll be important later, but I knew we were going to get him a new punishment phase, but that wasn't enough for me. I wanted him out. Witnesses began to recant. So what I did, guys, on his what's called habeas corpus lawyer, was reinvestigate the case. Spent many, many, many days in Houston talking to witnesses, talking to people, talking to his family. And that witness who was at the grate said to me in an affidavit, not her words, not mine, she felt pressured and frightened, did not want to go to jail and lose her children. She said, prior to trial, I was visited several times by the detectives, and they kept telling me that I could be arrested and lose my children if I said that I couldn't identify Dwayne in the Grand Am. That was her affidavit to me, to which we filed with the court. And then we got this. When I went to go check out the files, at the very bottom was a handwritten letter like this. As a former public defender, I got a lot of jail letters. A lot of them were jail letters and not really worth all that much. But this one, I read on the plane ride home. And in the movie version, Bradley Cooper gets up and says, "Turn this plane around!" You're supposed to laugh more at that, guys. Come on. Anyway, this letter, which was written barely a month after the crime, is from Dwayne's friend. Dwayne's friend went to go buy some weed from a guy. And the guy who was selling the weed said, "Hey, isn't it crazy? They pinned that murder on Dwayne, but I did it." And this lays out every single fact. It wasn't in the media yet, so these facts are authentic. And we began to realize who the real shooter was. And the letter ends, Dobie, it's his nickname, "That wasn't nothing but one big setup for you." It's like a John Grisham book, right? And I couldn't believe I was living this life. We looked through this, and we figured out who the person is. I don't say his name. I give him a pseudonym in the book, because he's entitled to due process. He's entitled to the constitutional rights that Dwayne didn't get. We spent 2 hours developing his case in front of the DA. We did a lot of investigation. We figured out who it was. We brought all of that to the DA. We said, here's all the reasons why Dwayne didn't do it, and this other guy did it. And this DA says to me like this, "All you fast-talking Yankee lawyers come down to Texas and say that the system's broken and say that you guys are innocent. This is Texas. We know better." And you could probably imagine by meeting me that I didn't take that very well. I said, "You don't know me?" I said, "I'm not going to stop until he's out." And then I did my old best Arnold Schwarzenegger. I said, "I'll be back." And I walked out of the room. It's true. So I knew the critical witness was Erica because she had testified in the grand jury about his alibi, given a police statement about the alibi. I tried to find her so many times. We had a hot tip on where she lived. I'd fly down to Houston. I'd go find her. She'd slam a door in my face. Go back to D.C. Do it again, probably 3 or 4 times. And then finally we got a moment of grace where Anthony Graves, exoneree 138, he had heard about Dwayne's case, believed him to be innocent, and he was out. He called me and said, "Hey, I want to help." I said, "Help me." And so he agreed to go find and talk to Erica, because Anthony's girlfriend had also been pressured by the police. He goes and he sees her and says, "Hey, just talk to Dwayne's lawyers, will you please?" And she agreed. I flew down on a Sunday, met her at a Cajun restaurant. I had boudin for the first time, I still don't know what the hell it is. And I sat there and said, "Hey, I'm not the cops. I'm not the DA. I can't do a damn thing to you. Will you please just tell me the truth? Was he home when you left that morning?" "Yes." "Did he make a phone call from your house to where you worked?" "Yes." "Why did you testify differently at trial?" And that's when she told me that she chose her children over Dwayne. And she wrote me an affidavit. You can't read it. It's written literally at the parking lot of this Cajun restaurant. But she says all those things, but she says something more. That remember when she said that he was there in that grand jury? She gets put into a room, a locked room. The DA comes over and sees her and says, "If you don't tell me what I want, I'm going to charge you with perjury and give you the needle just like your boyfriend." And that's what she writes right there. Those are her words, not mine. And then we get a letter from the co-defendant, Elijah Joubert, on death row. He sends us a letter out of the blue to come and talk with him. And we contacted his lawyer, because under the ethical rules, you got to contact his lawyer to let him know that you're going to go see him. And he said, "Yeah, go talk to him." So I go down to Livingston and I say, "Hey, we're here." He said, "Your boy don't belong here." I said, "Yeah, no shit." I said, "Tell me who did it." He said, "Well, I ain't no snitch." And so he left. He got up. He started walking away. And I was pissed because I used $2 of the 20 in the quarters to buy him, Joubert, a chicken sandwich. and the jailer was coming with the sandwich. I said, no. I said, jailer, no, hold that sandwich. I'll eat it. Don't give it to him. And he looks at me like, what are you doing? You're taking away my sandwich? It's like, yeah, I'm not giving you no sandwich. Chicken sandwich. So, anyway, he sits back there and I said, okay, I'm from New Jersey. I'll play your games. I said, what if I guess who it is? And if I'm right, you tell me. And so I mentioned the name, who I think it was. And he leans back and he says, how do you know that shit, man? And for the next hour and a half, tells us everything. Details that only perpetrators and people who were there would know. And he wrote me an affidavit. He said Alfred Dwayne Brown was not involved in any way with the incident on April 3rd, nor present at the Ace check cashing store on April 3rd. He wouldn't say who did it in this affidavit because he said he didn't want to be a snitch. But I had my paralegal with me at the time, and he wrote an affidavit and said what Jobert had said. So we provided Erica's affidavit, we provided this affidavit, the paralegal's affidavit, the other one from the other witness who said that she had only done it because she was pressured. And I thought, guys, I was going to get a parade. I thought I was going to get a medal. And Texas was going to say, we're sorry. Your guy can come out. Here's $1 million. We're really sorry for your troubles. But they doubled down, the DA, and they, not enough. Not enough at all. In the meantime, the DA walked away from that expert because of our investigation when they gave him 3 extra points. And I'm happy to tell you that because of our work and other cases that he had worked on, the doctor, he was investigated by the State Board of Licensing. He was fined $5,000 and prohibited from working on any death penalty cases anymore. So that's right up there in the top 10 of things I'm happy about, because then he won't be able to give people points for no reason, and he can't talk to death row inmates. And the judge granted a new sentencing phase. So I had a pretty good feeling at that point that we were going to save the man's life. But that wasn't enough for me. So guys, what more could I get? I was incredibly depressed. This took 8 years, hundreds of hours, trips to Houston, which now we understand why I have a complicated relationship with this city. I simply could not understand why no one was listening to me. And I'd go to see him, and I'd cry, and I'd be angry. And this man, who was in a cell this wide, would bring me peace, would bring me grace, would let me know that it's okay, and that the truth would come out. And he would say, thank you for standing up for me, just like that guy who stole the bike. And so each time that I'd be depressed and sad, I'd go see him and I'd come back invigorated, ready to work some more. And remember this phone record, the phone call. Dwayne said he made that phone call from his girlfriend's apartment to where she worked. I subpoenaed the phone company. They said, nah, we don't have it. Subpoenaed the cops. They said, nah, we don't have it. Subpoenaed the DA. They said, we don't have it. My depression was at an all-time high. And then we got this. I didn't make up this email. It's a real one. It says, the purpose of this email is to let you know that Breck McDaniel, the HPD officer who testified regarding the telephone records at the Brown trial, delivered to me today a box of materials related to the phone records. Officer McDaniel found these records over the weekend in cleaning out his garage. That's a real email, guys. From the RIT DA to the judge. It's CC'd to some of my co-counsel. And we said, well, why don't you just send it? Send us what's in the garage. You know what was in there, guys? This. A single piece of paper. One piece of paper. I love this piece of paper. It is a phone record. Dobie's girlfriend, landline on South Loop, showing that he made the call. Here, you can look at it too, Cameron. From his girlfriend's apartment. You know what's worse? You know what was attached to this piece of paper? These pieces of paper. A subpoena from the district attorney's office to the phone company the day after Erica testifies that she made that call. She says he made that call. The DA subpoenas the phone company to say, was she telling the truth or not? Let's find out. He gets the records, does not turn them over to the defense. They reside in a garage for 8 years. That's my garage. It's a mess. My wife gets mad at me that I put this plot here, but that's my garage. My daughter said to me, Daddy, why were there documents in a garage when our garage looks like this? The busted weed whacker never works. Bikes are flat. There's like 100 Diet Cokes in here because I survive on almost that alone, as you can tell. But that's where his freedom resided, in a box in a garage. So we called the DA, and we said, hey, remember that whole I'll be back thing? We're back. And to their credit, they agreed the document was material and exculpatory, which it was, and agreed to a new trial without a hearing. And guys, that's a 1 in a billion chance in Texas. The judge said, as soon as we can, with the cooperation of the Court of Criminal Appeals, we'll give you the trial you deserve. Justice, right? Now, your state and most states have a rule where the trial judge orders a new trial, but the appellate court has to agree with it and send it back for the new trial to formally vacate his conviction. And that took 17 months. 17 months after we already had the phone record. 17 months. The Court of Criminal Appeals issued opinions on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday I'd wake up and it was Christmas morning. I'd go to the computer. I'd type in Brown, nothing. Another Wednesday would go by, nothing. Another Wednesday would be a Brown. I'd tell him it would be John Brown, damn it! The next time it would be Joe Brown, damn it! How many Browns are there in Texas? Weeks would go by. I decided to stop looking. Now I hated Wednesdays because I was told by folks in the know that Republican judges were up for election on the Court of Criminal Appeals, and they would never, ever, ever grant a new trial in a police officer shooting case until after the election. And that made me about as angry as anything else. 17 months, guys. Think about that. Year and a half of your school. Children are born. People die. Weddings, graduations. Silly stuff. Important stuff. 17 months of his life after we already had the phone record showing he was innocent. And they didn't do anything. Until, you see in November there? Tuesday, November 4th, Election Day. A day that has to hurry up and get here this year too, right? We're sick of this election stuff. But November 4th is a Tuesday. The judges on the Court of Criminal Appeals get reelected. Congratulations to all of them. The next day, a Wednesday, they issue this. A 2-page order called, it's a per curiam. You see the Latin, it just means short. That's all it means. 2 pages. It took him 8.5 months per page to formally vacate his conviction and send it back for a new trial. And in the time from November 5th, 2014, there were a couple court hearings, but we had taken apart this case. The DA did their reinvestigation to the extent they could, but they knew, as we all did, that he was innocent. And then one amazing day in June 8th of 2015, DA Devin Anderson said that after very careful consideration, I decided there's insufficient evidence to corroborate the testimony of Brown's co-defendant, that's Glaspie. Accordingly, we dismissed Alfred Brown's capital murder case earlier today. It is the right thing to do. And I require a round of applause for this one, guys. So, give it up. Chronicle wrote this great editorial. I did not Photoshop this. This is actually an editorial in the Chronicle. And I have many copies of it because finally, it had happened. This is on video, I shouldn't say it, but I'll do it anyway. I took this as I was leaving the plane, and I looked down at Houston, and I was on the plane, I said, see? And I promised never to come back to Houston again. But here I am. But y'all are making me feel a little more welcome, so thank you. Dallas Morning News, another big reason to rethink capital punishment, because think about it. Think about this.
A single piece of paper in a garage is what saves a man's life? How can that be? The system we have. How can that be? 8 years of my work. Hundreds of hours. And I'm just a guy who gets to tell the story. But I have associates, paralegals, partners, assistants. We worked thousands of hours on this case for one man's life. With a document in a garage. Could have been a fire, could have been a flood, could have been, hey, get that crap out of the garage. And he'd probably still be where he was. And I'd be fighting. Take a look at the case of Troy Davis, guys, from Georgia. Very similar set of facts. Police officer shooting case, only witness identification. That man was executed. And likely innocent. A document in a garage cannot be what we hang our system on. If you don't want to listen to me, listen to Rick Perry. No friend of mine. Signed hundreds and hundreds of death warrants, including the death warrant on Cameron Todd Willingham, who you all should look up after this, who was innocent, and proven later to be innocent, and was executed anyway. Rick Perry at an ALEC speech, again, not a place where I would go, but he says, when ambitious prosecutors go overboard, the true victims aren't people like you or me, because he can afford a defense. They're people like Erica and Alfred who don't have the means to fight back. This is the governor who signed hundreds of death warrants. So I tell all my right-wing friends, you don't believe me? Listen to Rick Perry. But he did. Dwayne did have the means to fight back. But only because my firm agreed to take it. And only because I spent 8 years on it. And only because I sacrificed hundreds of thousands of dollars in bonus money at my firm. Only because I believe that why I became a lawyer was not to simply make a paycheck, but to help people, to stand up for people. So I was willing to sacrifice that for one man's life. But not everybody would. I hope you all do, in whatever you do, whether you're a lawyer or whatever you do as a profession. That's my daughter. We call her the sugar dip marshmallow. Sweet on the inside, sweet on the outside. This is her when she was born. I mean, when I got the case. Literally, the day after I got the case, we took this picture. And that's her on the right, on your right, when he got out. So I'm always able to mark it. It took this long for one man to be released. My other daughter right there. I love that sign. I usually cry at this point. I just often love this sign. That's him when he got out. And guys, these are my daughters. That's his daughter on the right. She was 2 when he went in. Now she's 16. Beautiful, wonderful girl who we're going to help to go to college and succeed. And in the back there, there's someone you might recognize. Pat, sitting there, second row. There's your head right there, Pat. You're in the book. And Pat always brags to me that she got to see Dwayne and hug him before I did. And I'm upset about it. But since I love you, Pat, it's okay.
Thank you.
And this is him again. There's Pat again. Twice. Now, guys, what he says there, when he's walking out, the media's there, he said, I have no hate in my heart for what they did to me. He said, you can't always trust everybody, but you can love everybody. He comes out of death row speaking words of love and forgiveness and grace. And that is why he might be the best person I've ever met in my life. Because I'm still angry. It didn't happen to me. But he comes out and is peaceful and looks forward every day. And then I finally got to hug him, and there it is. I can't stop hugging him. I hug him every time I see him, and I tell him I love him every time I see him because I do. And we got these. No, there they are. I did them for the... I don't put this in every speech. When I speak in my church, I didn't put these up there. But for you guys, I figure you're hip and cool. I'm trying to be hip and cool, so... Yeah, that's them. His is much cooler, as I said. Mine's on my shoulder. I texted this picture to my wife. She's like, really? But my kids think it's one of those versatile ones that like come off after a while. I said, nope, it's on there. Getting a lot of street cred this summer at the community pool. The other dads were like, that's pretty cool. And it's never going off. Do you want to get another one? Or are you good with one? So when he got out, I said, where do you want to go? He said, I want oysters. And so we went and got him some oysters. He hadn't had horseradish in 20 years and made him cry. That's his daughter right there, another lawyer on the case. The media was outside dying to talk to us, but this was our meal. This was our Thanksgiving. And that's his daughter right there. I love this picture, guys. This reconciliation is coming back. And then the whole defense team came down that day. And we drove him to Louisiana, where he was raised for part of his life. He had a 92-year-old grandmother who basically raised him. She was worried she'd never see him again. We got him back to Louisiana, and I think she knew she was holding on because she passed away a few months after he got out. And I feel amazing and honored that he got to see her. He went to a Yankee game. I despise the Yankees. I'm a Mets fan, but he wanted to go to Yankee Stadium, and it's my goal to get as many bucket list moments as possible. And I wore that hat for approximately 3 minutes and took it off. One of my friends works for the Yankees, got us great seats and a suite, and that is a really cool jersey. And he smiled at that jersey more than he's ever smiled at me for anything. So at least you know what to get him if you're looking for Christmas gifts for Dwayne. But it's my goal now to do things with him, to show him the world. We've been to LA, been to Austin, been to New York, and that's a horse. Now he does what he wants. And what's great about it is he's not bitter and not angry. And he's moving forward. And I'm so proud of him. And I will do whatever it takes to help him and make him happy. So that's the book. You are all obligated to buy it if you haven't already. Just kidding, you're students, you can have free ones. I do have some free ones left. My only requirement, if you accept one from me, is to tell this story. Put it on social media, tell your friends, tell your family when you go back on break, hey, I heard this great story. Make your parents buy it. Put it in everybody's Christmas stocking. Not for me. We're donating the money that we get, which is not that much anyway. I need to tell this story. Dwayne told me when he got out, I said, hey, I have this great book that I've been writing. I'd love to tell your story. And he said, or we can just go our separate ways, whatever you want. And he said, no, we got to tell the story, because if it happened to me, it could happen to someone else. And so I'm hoping this book and his story helps. You know, just recently, less than half of Americans now support the death penalty. And it's cases like this that I think help that. I didn't come here to tell you to change your mind on the death penalty. Just laying it out for you, make up your own mind. But if you do take one of our books, tell the story. Unfortunately, I'm probably double y'all's age. I had to go on, what's this, Twitter? Have you heard of this before? My publicist, who's your age, said to me, you actually want to sell some books? So she made me do a Twitter account. There it is. Follow me, friend me, whatever you guys call it. And tell the story, please. Tell the story. This is my favorite part, though. I'm going to introduce to you my friend, Alfred Dwayne. We'll take some questions if you'd like. We can sit here and take some questions. Not on camera though, so you're gonna have to cut that off. Thank you.